Bremner. Skipped away from Tonegado. Sam Bremner's going to do it all, and Sel what a try. I would say turning back the clock, but she's not. She's always outstanding, and it's 16-0 to the Roosters.
Yes, indeed, she's back out of retirement, back into the Roosters, and at the top of the NRLW table, Sam Bremner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's been brilliant success, your return so far. What dragged you back?
I guess a series of unfortunate events for the Roosters is actually why I got to play again. So I retired after a World Cup win 18 months ago, and Corbin Baxter, who is the Roosters fullback in their trial game, went down with an ACL injury, and her replacement, Bridie Parker, went straight on the field and within a minute broke her arm. So the two fullbacks were down, and I was just sitting in my dressing gown with coffee all over me with 3 kids hanging off me, watching the game. And I got a call that next morning if I would like to play, and I literally had not touched a football for 18 months. I hadn't even broken a stride because I'd been pregnant for 12 of those months. Well, pregnant and had the baby, obviously.
It's a long pregnancy.
So I just, I'm an elephant. And so I was just so taken back, but then obviously got to come in without doing a pre-season straight into round 2, and yeah, the rest is history, being able to be a part of the Roosters again.
What did you miss?
I definitely miss the adrenaline rush that sport gives us all. I think there's not much like it, those nerves pre-game and then overcoming those nerves, the pressure. Towards the end of my career, pressure is something that challenged me a lot. Sometimes I loved it, sometimes I hated it and couldn't cope with it. But then when I didn't have that pressure, I really missed it. So that's something I've sort of taken in my stride whilst returning this season.
Being a mother of 3 is hard enough, and then on top of that, you're a professional NRLW player. Tell us about that juggle, because it can't be easy.
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, and I think the assumption that everybody makes is that getting your body back into a certain fitness or strength is the challenge, and that may be for some people, but certainly for me, it's the logistics around organising my entire family so that I can go play rugby league. It's, you know, even today to go to training, I had to make all my kids' dinners, pick one up from kindy, get a babysitter, make sure they're in a certain time so I can be at training at a certain time. Because if you don't organise the logistics, well, you're letting someone down. You're either potentially letting your family down or you're letting your team down. And it's something that's been a challenge for me. Everything that I do, I like to do to the best of my ability, including being a mum. Like, I really try my hardest, and at days I'm a terrible one, but you know, at the best days I really try my best. But I also want to be the best rugby league player, and it's that balance of putting all my energy into doing both of those things and getting the juggle right or close to right, but then also some days allowing myself to be like, you know what, today I'm only 30% rugby league player.
What's worse, running at a front rower or whooping cough?
I tell you what, the amount of things these kids bring back from daycare, I'm running a front rower.
Well, when you got the call and you said, I'm going back, what did the hubby say?
You know what? Surprisingly, I said no. So my first answer was no. I'm super happy in my little retirement home. It's quite cosy here. And he came home from work and he jokingly said, "Did you get a call from the Roosters today?"
He peeped it.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
he said it as soon as he watched the game with me, and I laughed and said I actually did, and I thought that was all it was going to be. And he's like, "Are you going to do it?" And he just thought it was a really cool opportunity. And he really understood from the previous season that I played that the hard work is mostly in the pre-season and those logistics. It's not actually running out onto the field. Well, not in my case anyway. So to be able to not do a pre-season and just go into round 2, it was probably the easier part. And for us, it was 9 weeks of sorting our family out. It wasn't 7, 8, 9 months that it was the previous season.
You've walked into a comp now that's bigger and better, and the success of Origin, finally 3 games, million viewers each game, 25,000 the first game, sellouts games 2 and 3. So the game's never been better, it's never been stronger. But moving forward, how would you take it the next step? How would you, what are the next steps here?
Yeah, well, I think it needs to be quite black and white. When we say that we're part-time athletes, that isn't very black and white. Part-time for everyone is different. There are girls that are playing that have full-time jobs. There are girls that are playing that have families. There are girls that have jobs that just playing rugby league is their job. So it really varies across the board. I think for it to be able to move forward, it needs to be a little bit more black and white. And I understand with that comes a lot of money, and a lot of money needs to be invested in the game. And I think it's at a really good starting point at the moment. We're seeing girls become really great players. We've seen a pathway where, when I was young, I had to stop playing if I was 12 years old and couldn't return until I was 18. Whereas last year was the first season in the NRLW that we've seen girls not have to stop at 12. We've seen the talent come all the way through. And that's moved the game forward in itself. But I think, that part-time, we need to just be a little bit more certain about what that looks like. And if we could have girls doing it in the daytime, not necessarily the nighttime, that would bring so much more positive light to the sport, because you'd have girls being able to play for other teams because they'd be able to travel and not have to travel late at night, but you'd also be able to get their lives sorted a little bit more, I think, in terms of work.
Well, you've got it sorted. You've come back. Your team is flying. 3 teams at the top of the table now on equal. The competition looks brilliant.
It surely does. And, definitely one to watch, because anything can happen with this NRLW. If you score more points, you can slip to 3rd straight away. So it's very cool.
Good to talk to you for an hour. Yeah. Had a beep test to show you as well, but we haven't got time for that, sadly. Coming up, our champ for the week is next. Stick around. Brilliant week. Well done.